Hello, everyone. This is Marianne from Revealing Light, Tarot, Astrology, and Spirituality. There's so much to read on at this time, but I've chosen to read on China and what we see as, I think it's the beginning of a revolution in China. I think if you go back to my China reading, oh gosh, I don't know how long ago, over a year ago anyway. If you search that out, I've said it various times that there will be a revolution in China because it will be a people-led revolution because the people actually want democracy. And so it was a bit chilling to hear them calling for that in the media that I have observed over the last day or so, the people wanting democracy. Unfortunately, it's not as simple as that. And I've chosen to look at the astrology there, the proclamation of the People's Republic of China in 1949 is their natal chart. And of course, I'm looking at the transits and I see signs of this revolution. It's going to get, my feeling is, we'll draw cards on it as well, that it's probably going to get quite bloody. I'm seeing clairvoyant images of people pouring petrol on buildings. But I get the feeling that there's going to be obviously bloodshed. I don't think this is a quick revolution. I think this is a revolution that evolves over time. So let's take a look at the chart and I'll let you know what I'm seeing in it. Okay, we'll get that. Okay. All right. So you'll see here that the natal chart is China on the 1st of October 1949 in Beijing, and the transits are today, in today's date, around midday in Beijing. So the inner circle, you can see here, the inner circle is the actual natal chart, and the outer ring in red is the transits. So I want to go to so much in this chart. I can't cover it all in the time that I've got. So yes, but the things that stand out to me, I could not go beyond the transiting moon is sitting on top of their natal moon. It's conjunct their natal moon in Aquarius. Aquarius, people power, change. Now, it's sitting there in the 12th house. It's on the ascendant. It's on the ascendant. But their natal moon is in the 12th house. What is the moon? The soul, the soul's journey. I believe that every country, that we're reincarnated into a particular country for a particular reason at a particular time. And the natal moon in the 12th, in this natal chart of the People's Republic proclamation of the People's Republic of China, shows me that at some point in the 12th house, which is the collective consciousness and hidden enemies as well, that there was going to be a move against the state, against the communist state. At some point, it would be people led because Aquarius is on the ascendant. Now, we go also to Saturn in Aquarius here, straddling in this first house. Saturn, whenever I see Saturn in Aquarius, it really is the thing that teaches me so much about the hard work that we have to do. It is the taskmaster. It is Father Time. And whenever we see Saturn in opposition or squaring something, again, I always say red lines are hard. They're the squares and the oppositions. They're the conflicts and challenges in any natal chart. Blue lines is the harmonious, the trines and the sextiles that allow us to really get a little bit of help, a little bit of wind in our sails. The green lines in a chart, in this particular chart, are the inconjuncts, where energy is just incompatible. So it's more than a conflict or an opposition. It's like, how on earth am I going to figure this out? But we'll get to that in a minute. The second aspect, or the second, I guess, theme of this chart that I want to point out you will see two red triangles, really on either side. Now, this is a seesaw pattern. Whenever you see these type of patterns in charts, it indicates a dynamic challenge, in this case, a duality. Two sides opposing each other, two sides with different values. And they're really connected here, meeting in the middle through the oppositions. Now, the opposition is Venus in Scorpio in the 9th house. Scorpio, of course, is death, rebirth, transitions, transformations. Scorpio is the sign of intensity, where we go right down and plumb the depths of ourselves. It's our values. Now, many people, because I don't want to generalize with race, but if you meet Chinese, I think it's a fair comment to say they're incredibly disciplined. It's what gives them, I think their chart is cast in the year of the ox is their sign. They're able to pull those loads through this discipline. The 9th house is the higher good. It's 9th house, of course, ruled by Sagittarius, movement for the higher good. But it's opposing, okay, red line, natal Venus in Scorpio is opposing their Uranus in Taurus in this 3rd house. And of course, we know Uranus is conjunct, transiting Uranus is conjunct with the North Node, of course. And the South Node, of course, is in Scorpio. So this opposition is rebellion versus stability. But Uranus gives us a shake-up. What we thought was stable is not stable. And Saturn in Aquarius. Okay, so Saturn in Aquarius opposing their, transiting Saturn in Aquarius, opposing their natal Pluto and Mars in Leo in the 7th house, indicates, what has Xi Jinping done? Xi Jinping has, as much and all as he's committed atrocities, as he's taken away freedoms, he has also, under his watch, I won't say westernized China, but he's opened China up to the West. And now that he's done that, the people don't want an iron fist ruling them. They want their freedom. And I'll get to that in a minute, because we've got a lot of transiting planets in Sagittarius right now. And that speaks to me of a revolution. Acting, it's on the midheaven, what we aspire to. Right up here, the godliness, the heavens, the midheaven, what we aspire to in this life. It is also very, I guess, it's influencing this natal Scorpio, Venus in Scorpio. And so this hard work of the ox that we've seen in the past, the other side of the coin, again, this seesaw pattern here in the chart, the duality, of course, is we want our freedom as opposed to the stability of the state. So there are opposing values, and Uranus doesn't let us off the hook. Uranus says change is here whether we like it or not. So Saturn in Aquarius then is playing that very important role, opposing the natal Pluto and Mars in Leo in the 7th house. Partnerships, going out there and seeking partnerships for on whose behalf? The people. So we see these literally opposing themes and factors in this chart. The People's Republic of China. Xi Jinping has just given himself another term really giving himself emperor status. How does that reconcile with communism? How does it not become another authoritarian state? So we've got Saturn, again, Saturn in Aquarius, the taskmaster squaring this Venus in Scorpio. If the Chinese want freedom, they're going to have to work for it. It's not going to be a quick revolution. We have Uranus and the North Node here, squaring, of course, the Pluto and Mars in Leo, in the 7th house. The 7th house is also the house of open enemies. Remembering the 12th house can be the house of hidden enemies. Okay, so natally, their identity is wrapped up here in this 8th house, which is ruled in their chart by Libra. Sun conjunct Mercury, conjunct Neptune, conjunct Ceres. So it's like their push for, and I will link the at the natal chart reading I did on China, this push for, I talked about it as a golden sun, the rise of China, this idea that it is justice that China rises from the ashes of past what? Past indignities, past conquering. And of course, we have Saturn in their natal chart, Saturn in Virgo. Sometimes Virgo can indicate a little bit of inferiority. And we have transiting Ceres, also very close to their Saturn in Virgo. So their wealth creation for the many is also wrapped up in their sense of elevation, their sense of ascension, their sense of that rising sun. To me, that's past conditions because of this opposing, this seesawing, looks like an hourglass, doesn't it? These opposing values. So they've attained much of their success, but it is without democracy. It is without equality. It is now in the background of an authoritarian regime. So that's where we get to the revolutionary forces in this chart, aside from the transiting moon conjunct the natal moon. The moon is the soul, the evolution of the soul, as I've said, but it's also emotion. The collective is agitating for more. And natally, the moon is sextiling what? I always go for Chiron in the astrology chart. Chiron is the wounded healer up in the 10th house in Sagittarius. So that their public, the way that they present to the world. And we know that since COVID in 2019, China's reputation has been diminished. But up here we have Sagittarius, here we have the Sun, as I said, Venus and Mercury, all conjunct there. And it's right sitting, the Sun's sitting right on there. Sun in Sagittarius sitting right on their Chiron. So Chiron in Sagittarius. So there's a push. If Xi Jinping thinks that he can push authoritarian rule onto the Chinese collective, no, he can't. And this part of this authoritarian rule is seen in the lockdowns from COVID. So one way or another, when COVID first broke out in the Wuhan market, it set China on a path of change, bringing forward all those themes that I've just been talking about. But the theme of democracy, the people want their freedom, is overwhelming in this chart. There is something ending. There is a cycle ending and a new cycle beginning. but it isn't going to be a quick revolution. Where we look at COVID breaking out again in this chart, we've got some astrologers think the COVID signature is Neptune in Pisces. So we have here Neptune looks like their second house, Neptune in Pisces in their second house, alongside Jupiter. Jupiter being expansion. There is no doubt that COVID has hit China's wealth creation, very, 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 very hard, and continues to do that right now. And when the Chinese economy, our manufacturing, that's where we seeded all our manufacturing over the last, contemporary economics, we'll find that everything went offshore. Well, when China starts to falter, so that's just adding to the economic pressures on countries that are highly trading with China. So the COVID signature is here in this second house of finances, belongings, wealth, banking. So we've got these economic pressures coming to bear. Can Xi Jinping just let COVID rip? Probably not, because it is the world's highest populated country. Can you imagine that, the economic issues that would cause? But it's balanced here with the people saying we will no longer lock down. And it is fueling this pressure, this revolutionary pressure of the people. So what's going to help them? Well, the Chinese government has enemies within. It has enemies that are almost universally being helped, where we see these heavy trines of Pluto conjunct Mars in Leo in the 7th house. China makes a formidable enemy, we know. But the trine is to the revolution, the people's revolution here in Sagittarius. They want their freedom. And so the Chinese government is going to have to contend with the enemy from within. And the Chinese people, Saturn in Aquarius, and then we get Pluto moving into Aquarius briefly in 2023, and then in the longer term in 2024, this revolution is not going to go away. All right, so let's pull some cards. Let's just stop that share. I'm going to pull from the Lunar. I've got 2 decks out. I've got the Lunar Somna, which is a new deck I've got. I absolutely love it. And then we're going to pull some, I don't know, 1 or 2 cards from the Thoth deck to begin with. So let's have a look. What can you show me? What can you? Oh, yeah, it's like it is like a grand cross. It's a dynamic battle between these 2 values: the collective, working for the collective, and this new way of democracy. Okay, what can you show me? Oh, it's just not going to be quick or easy, and it could get quite bloody. So what can you show me about China, having to now confront this people's revolution, or the beginnings of it? What are you going to show me? It hasn't worked in the past. We had this uprising in the, when was it? The 80s, and there were many lives lost. But I just don't think it's going to work again. Like, I think that the Chinese government, while they may subdue one area, then another one will spring up, and ultimately this is the beginning of a democracy in China. I never thought I'd say that word. All right. I said, didn't I, that everything, the phrase I got when I read on the changing world is that everything is being remade. I didn't state, I mean, that I didn't understate that. Everything is being remade. All right, so you got to break things to remake them. All right, so what can you show me about, what can you tell me about China? Past communist leaders I'm seeing here. The Three of Wands, virtue. I don't know that, you know, when Sagittarius wakes up, all those transiting planets in Sagittarius impacting on their Venus in Scorpio, and the opposition there with Uranus in Taurus and the North Node. This is kind of like a fated time for China. Some are looking back at their past leaders that, it's like Stalin and Russia. Past leaders, and they are not as beholden to those archetypes anymore. So the Three of Wands talks about the work that you need to do, waiting for one ship to come in. They want more. Nine of Pentacles, gain, the seesawing effect of that chart, the opposing the opposing values, the duality here. On one hand, you've got the collective communist type of doctrine. On the other, you've got democracy that allows the individual or individuals to create wealth for themselves. And in an oligarchy, China's a little bit like Russia, where you get many individuals who've become wealthy, but on the backs of the workers, on the backs of those that will pull the load. Queen of Cups, something to be revealed. So there's something always around valuing the self here, and the communist ideology or doctrine doesn't seem to work for the individual now in a world that is living in that kind of Western world as well. It's the same kind of thing that's going on in Russia. Russia has become an oligarchy, but in doing so, the people have seen what the hierarchy has, and they want that too. So that aspirational value comes into play, the Prince of Cups. So I think Xi Jinping will try and offer them something. I'll drill down with the tarot, but it looks like they're going to be offered something to try and quell this unrest. I don't know. Does he start to lift the lockdowns in certain provinces, let the COVID rage, and then do it slowly? I don't know I don't know if that's it. But we've got the Six of Swords, sinus science. So there could be relocation of certain peoples as well. So he'll suppress revolutionary forces by forcibly removing people to other places and provinces. But he'll do a number of he'll take a number of strategies because he is the emperor, the Chinese emperor. But I think as soon as he crossed that line, he became the not the people's ruler anymore. If he ever was, he became a tyrant. And we've got valor now. You will see many young Chinese. This is Mars energy. Many young Chinese. Mars coincidentally is retrograde in Gemini, the duality, the communications. You'll see many young people give their lives in this revolution. We've got the Three of Swords, sorrow, and we also have cruelty, and that's really what I saw clairvoyantly. Okay, let's drill down with the lunar somna and see how it's going to play out. How is this beginning of a revolution? they will quell it as much as they can, but they can't quell it in the longer term. The same with Putin and the Russian oligarchs. That was as much a distraction for the Russian people, the war in Ukraine, to give rise to nationalistic sentiment and bring the Russians together, as it was about conquering Ukraine. These authoritarian regimes are at a close, the 10 of Wands. They're struggling to maintain their rule. All right, so let's have a look. Show me, how is this beginnings of this revolution? Always up in the 9th house, interestingly enough. Always aspirational for this higher knowledge. And this is what's driving this revolution, the people's revolution. This, you know, it's not just the need for freedom. It's like there's a spirituality attached to freedom. That's what's coming to bear on the Chinese right now. Not for the communistic collective, but for the freedom of the people. Show me what's going to happen with China, please, in 2023. 4 of Wands. So we've got celebrations, we've got families, we've got the coming together of communities, and there's the sun up above, the rising sun. That's the signifier card. Let's see what's opposing it. Queen of Pentacles. Financial stability as well, or instability, could be at play here in a cycle of time. If we thought that China's economy hasn't gone as far down as what we think it could, it will. It's been holding ground, but we haven't seen the worst of the, basically a recession in China. And that's going to challenge Xi Jinping even more. We have the 5 of Pentacles, money loss, but actually seeing there's an eye in the middle of this hand. It's the victim and the martyr card as well. So it's also the hand of fate. 5 is, being locked out, being cut out of the wealth. Many revolutions are fought because the people see the overlords with more than what they have, and it's ill-gotten because it's gotten off the backs of their labor, of their toil, of them going without. That's equally what is here with the Chinese. Now, remember, their relationship with currency, with money, is it underpins their way of living in this world. They feel they're not getting enough. So the 8 of Wands in the past, we've got things moving very, very, very quickly. The 8 of Wands talks about many, many things falling all at once, like a kind of like a meteor shower. They've had COVID, they've had the restrictions in the sky, restrictions. They're railing against those restrictions, but it's not just the lockdowns. I want to make that clear. It's not just the lockdowns, it's the aspiration for freedom and the aspiration for wealth creation and the suppression of that in the people. It's like the scales have fallen off their eyes as they saw Xi Jinping. Well, he had to move the parliament, his parliament, whatever it's called in China, to wrangle another term, a term that he shouldn't have had. They kept their rulers to a time. Well, Xi Jinping stepped out of that and become the emperor. And that's made all the difference. And you often see that in people-led revolutions when the ruler becomes all-powerful and takes too much power. We've got the Chariot here. It's going to be a rocky ride for China over the next 12 months, a very rocky ride. Things are going to move quite swiftly in terms of suppression of the revolution. However, where they dampen it out in one area, it will come to pass in another. In the here and now, we have the world card. It is an ending of the China that, as we know it. But with every ending, there is a new beginning. And I feel, this world card is just reflecting that Saturn in Aquarius energy. We have the environment at home is the Four of Cups. So we have disappointment, but there is one cup remaining. Watch for Xi Jinping to start mobilizing some kind of domestic policy that gives them more, that addresses their concerns about restrictions. The Sun card in the hopes and fears, the rising sun, is what I saw in that last China reading, or the analysis of their astrology chart. It's now become a fear. Their abundance, or their lack of is in the fear position. And the way that they can address that, because of their relation to making money, or to money, to currency, to trade, to whatever, at the individual level, there's also a fear that the rising of the sun could be in jeopardy. The Ace of Swords, the truth will emerge. That's the Aquarius energy, the Saturn in Aquarius working for us all. No matter which country you live in, and this is a China reading, the truth will set you free. And we have the Seven of Wands standing their ground for the truth, valor, and virtue. And we have the Two of Pentacles, decisions to be made, juggling, high wire, act as they move toward completion of something. Look at the sun here, or actually it's the moon. The moon conjunct, the transiting moon conjunct the natal moon in the 12th house. This completion and beginning of something is fated. It is destiny. It is destiny. All right, at the base of the pack, we have the King of Pentacles, the businessman, the oligarch, the devil card, toxicity, being chained to something, and the Six of Cups, the past. So what is being revealed, sort of like the scales dropping from their eyes, is looking at those that have more than them, the oligarchs in China, the business people in China, and they want the freedom of aspiration for themselves. Okay, so 2023, it's going to be unstable in China, politically, and also economically. So yet another fated time. Everything that is made will be remade, but I don't think this is a quick revolution. All right, that's my take on what's happening in China. My heart goes out to the Persians, what is happening in Iran, between the fanatical religious and the actual Persian culture, and the need for freedom. And when their soccer team didn't sing the national anthem, it just moved me so much. So anyone associated with Iran, similarly with Ukraine, these battles for truth and freedom and against the authoritarians and the oligarchs are taking place everywhere. And in some countries, it's particularly acute, including American democracy as well. All right, that's it. Thank you for tuning in, and bye.